Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, Sacred Geography, and Shinrin Yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Monday, February 20th, around 6 p.m. Mountain Time 2023. A devastating aftershock, magnitude 6.3, strikes Turkey and Syria, stirring panic. In fact, it was centered in one of the hardest hit regions, the Hatay province, killing 3 and injuring hundreds. But the big story, expansive snowstorm with blizzard conditions will target the plains, snow and ice threat from the Great Lakes to the northeast. Keep calm, it's boom time. The snowfall forecast through Thursday is looking spectacular from the west coast to Maine. The biggest winner, take a look, it's going to be Minneapolis and south. Say it ain't soda, but Minnesota will be the big winner chicken dinner. Some of the higher elevations in Wyoming and our area down here, the South San Juans, could be hit significantly as well. But there is also an ice risk. Here is the probability of ice in the next 72 hours of powers from Des Moines to Buffalo. The highest probability, Detroit and west across Michigan there. So heads up. There could be ice in the next 72 hours headed your way. According to the National Weather Service, a high-end snowstorm could have extreme impacts in Minnesota. In fact, a mega snowstorm is likely to dump over a foot on the state. And there may be some significant snow in the northeast, not only Maine, but Vermont and New Hampshire, as well as northern New York. But that is in a few days. Let's check out the forecast. Major winter storm to bring hazardous weather from the west to the northeast this week. A prolonged major winter storm will spread a large swath of heavy snow from the west coast to the Midwest today and into Thursday, which is expected to be extremely disruptive to travel, infrastructure, livestock, and recreation in the affected areas. Further east, heavy snow and an icy mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain will impact the Great Lakes and the northeast late Wednesday and into Thursday. And let's take a look at the full snowfall forecast. Here is your President's Day snow outlook, and let's just walk it through into Tuesday. Snow is going to be moving and dropping down in the Pacific Northwest. There is a little clipper there. Do you see it happening right up there in Minnesota before the system moves east? Let's just get some of this parsed up here. All right, that's looking a little better. So here we are Tuesday, Monday into your Tuesday. That snow's going to be moving down into the Pacific Northwest. A little bit of a clipper here in northern Michigan as well as northern Minnesota. But it is not until Wednesday morning that baby is going to really start working up here. Snow will be all the way down to the Cascades by then. Snow will be moving into the Sierras as that storm starts to bomb out here in the Rockies. Take a look at the snowfall totals there for Wednesday. And then Wednesday and Thursday, the system is going to move east. Minnesota, look at that. Northern Illinois, northern Indiana, a little sliver of northern Ohio potentially, and Michigan. Top Knot's boyhood home right there. Boom. Is going to get slammed with a foot and a half, as well as southern Minnesota. And it's looking like eastern South Dakota as well is going to have some heavy totals. And then take a look at the northeast here. New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire, much of Massachusetts. Potentially Boston could get some snow, ho-ho, and then another system to hit the Northeast and the upper Midwest, one after another through the first week of March, looking epic. Take a look at this blizzard developing for the Dakotas, potentially, right there in the second week of March. Those are far out models, but look at the depths of the snow in the West. The snow is going to be record-setting this year. And then we have the spring runoff. So that's always something to look forward to. Falsely reported climate change is causing natural disasters. Falsely reported that climate change is causing natural disasters. This in a new report examines alleged misinformation in the media on the relationship between natural disasters and climate change. And all the links will be below, including this 4-page PDF, Climate Fact Check 2022. Did you know that the Associated Press, a longtime major newswire service, is now accepting donations specifically to fund its climate coverage? And in fact, in 2022, the Associated Press admitted to receiving $8 million in donations to cover climate change. And that's coming from, well, the people pushing the climate narrative, not from science. In fact, these climate grants illustrate the growth in philanthropy-funded news. And that is not science. That's philanthropy-funded news to the tune of climate change and policy, not science. You want to know science? Well, take a look at it right here. The climate alarmist said that California was drying up, but in just 1 year, it's filling up. And according to the models, these reservoirs may very well be completely full in the spring. Ding, ding. Let's take a look at some of the photos before and after. This is from 2021 to 2023. And there are some more dramatic shots here. Looks like it went from a burnt out trailer to a new trailer. Take a look at these dramatic shots. All the same time frame. Boom, boom. And obviously the high water level is current, and the water is continuing to rise as we speak. Seismic update, live updates on the 6.3 magnitude earthquake striking Turkey and Syria and stirring panic. People, well, these poor people, obviously scared. The young people are scared. And this is after over 46,000 people now officially dead from the 7.8 magnitude quake. And a powerful new earthquake struck southern Turkey and northwest Syria on Monday evening, trapping people under more collapsed buildings in the same region where a devastating 7.8 magnitude quake and its aftershocks destroyed more than 100,000 buildings and killed more than 46,000 people and left more than 1 million people homeless. The 6.3 magnitude quake on Monday hit near the town of Uzunbag in Turkey's Hatay province just after 8 p.m. local time, according to the USGS. At least 3 people have died, unfortunately, and 213 were injured as of the writing of this update. Now, we have some exclusive footage sent to us from one of our viewers, and it is of the quake happening while someone was capturing it in their car, just sitting there. And there are some explosions I want to bring your attention to off in the distance here.
6-8 litre falan suyumuz var yani şişelerde. Bak. Allah. Deprem oluyor. Çok büyük deprem oluyor. Korkma. Hiçbir şey olmayacak.
Now, some people are claiming that was lightning. I think it's transformers exploding. Let's take a look again.
Çok büyük deprem oluyor.
Or other explosions of some kind. Now, remember, this is just a 6.8 aftershock. Can you imagine being in the 7.8? So excellent footage. Thank you to the viewer who sent that in just moments ago.
Abi bu neydi ya? Artçılar olabilir. Devam ediyor çünkü.
So we'll move over to the USGS map, and you can take a look. Right there is the 6.3 with another aftershock on the aftershock of the aftershock at 4.1. It could be its own quake in its own right, but because in the proximity, yeah, that is not an aftershock. That is an actual new quake down the spine. The main quake happened here up in the plate boundary, not at the secondary point here. So this is a whole new quake on its own, which is why it is forming its own aftershocks down here in the southern region. First time I really got to take a good look at that. So that is my official analysis. Worldwide, there are no other interesting quakes of note. We have some movement 4.1 up here in northern Canada, and this interesting intraplate 5.3 in the South Pacific, which could actually be some seamounts or some little, see that seamount activity under here? So these are a whole array of underwater volcanoes, which is eventually forming Micronesia and the atolls out here. And so we could have some volcanic activity deep in the Pacific. That is quite interesting. So our prayers and our thoughts are going out to the people in Turkey that are suffering. Now let's move over to the X flare that fizzled, the X flare that wasn't. And here we have the latest data coming in, and we've been watching telemetry all day, and it's been pathetic. There was a shockwave right here which is sitting about 24 hours ago now, that came in, and that was the CME. And then a secondary shock wave brought it up a little bit more. Oh, let's look at the 3 hour. What's going on here? All right, this is not cooperating with us. It will not give us the 3 hour. All right, so anyway, the density and the speed here, speed hasn't even gotten above 450 kilometers per second. That is barely going to budge. The magnetometer is looking pretty smooth. There's no radical movement, so nothing but a dud. That is the whole X-flare event, bringing us up to KP 2.5. And as you can see, days ago, we were much higher than that. So pretty embarrassing on the forecast. They're still forecasting that we could potentially get to KP 5 here, maybe later on tonight, but I doubt that that is going to happen. As the sun is going quiet, solar indices are dropping. We had an impulsive small M flare here. That is not going to drive any geomagnetic activity on Earth. And let's take a look at the latest HMI intensity. The spots are dwindling. These are going to turn around the limb, and there's, well, the sun is going blank once again at solar max. Now, just for context, the largest X flare during solar cycle 24 was an X 6.9 on August 9th, 2011. And it was in a similar spot. The X flare we just had was right over here. So it was a similar spot relative to the limb. Now, this one didn't destroy any communications or do much at all either. And that is because it was, well, probably a similar setup to this one. So we do have some room to go up here. If, in fact, solar cycle 25 is a little bit stronger than 24, maybe we'll get an X10. We still have a year or more in solar max here, about a year and a half or two left of solar max. Now, drilling deeper into the ocean floor than ever before in search for the origins of life. This is an interesting article. Take a look at this. This is the Moho moonshot. Yeah, it's absolutely an extremely deep well here. The existing hole is 4,640 feet below the seafloor, almost a mile, drilled in 2004 and 2005. The new target is 6,750 feet below the seafloor. That's approaching potentially the bottom of the ocean crust, which is estimated to be about 10 kilometers or thinner in some regions. So kind of interesting. Here's the distance from the existing hole to the new target is greater than the height of One World Trade Center, which is 1,776 feet tall right there. And the Moho depth estimated to be at least 14,700 or more below the seafloor. That is the Moho moonshot. This is where they're trying to get to, into the Mohorovic discontinuity. And good luck, because the next section, well, could be brutal. So pretty interesting, deep drilling going on in the ocean, by the mid-ocean ridge, by the way, and to look for the building blocks of life. Now, as residents near the toxic train wreck in Ohio worry about rashes and sore throats and nausea, Joe Biden gives $500 million to Ukraine and bypasses visiting these people that are suffering, Americans. It's absolutely disgusting. But I do digress. Do you know how old the oldest known remains of modern humans are? 230,000 years old. This is the oldest Homosapien sapien that looks just like you or I, was walking around in Africa 230,000 years ago. And it was once thought that they were only 190,000 years old, but new volcanic ash dating in the last few years have pushed that date all the way back to 230,000 years. Now, have you ever wondered about the history of solar activity over the last, well, the Holocene? This is the most comprehensive paper. It came out in 2013. It is about 100 pages, and we're going to link you to the whole text. But what it does give you is a graph of the last 9,500 years of solar activity. And these blue areas would be the grand solar minima times. And we will be talking about this on Saturday on our radio show. Leah and I will continue the discussion on 536 AD. Right there, the drop down after that event. And why it was the worst year to be alive. Now, strange thunderstorms are hitting the Arctic, and they're getting longer and stronger, and scientists are baffled. The longest thunderstorm in the history of Arctic observation was recorded in July of 2022, making an increase in extreme weather activity in a region that's generally devoid of such events. But if they were honest about the science and they knew about the waning magnetosphere, they would expect more, well, lightning events worldwide in many systems due to the meridional flow and the extreme juxtaposition of hot and cold, like we're seeing now. But that's a whole nother course, isn't it? Now, the greater Idaho bill to change Oregon border passes the Idaho House. That would be one big Idaho. I don't know. Do you know about this? Idaho is trying to capture most of the state of Oregon because the people that live in the West, well, they're nothing like the people that live near the coast. I don't know if you know, but now you know. House members in the Idaho legislature voted in favor of the Greater Idaho movement this past week. Now, it's a long way from happening, but the first hurdle has been met. Now, if you don't know, Leah and I will be at the San Luis Valley Seed Exchange April 1st and April 2nd. We'll probably be presenting on April 1st. I don't have the schedule yet, but that will be coming out in the next few weeks. So please plan on, if you're in the area, coming down there, support the event. It's a free event with local vendors, a speaker series, a seed swap, free seeds. We give out free cannabis, and the whole event is free. So all you need is gas money, and you need to get there. You could camp, but it will be quite shivery. So make the proper plans. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. I hope you got something out of the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Become a Patreon. Support the work we do. We love you. Hit that thumbs up, and we'll see you in the San Luis Valley. That's a boom.